Record. We're on.
All right, we on. We're running.
Camera.
Camera 1.
Camera.
Camera 2. Camera 3.
Roadcast.
Hey Siri, time 26 minutes. She's doing it.
Doing it.
Roll.
Let's go. I always find myself bouncing along to that intro.
I noticed on the last one we didn't let it play for long enough. I thought we'd just let it play for a bit longer. You know, we get into that little electro motif, and it moves on to the next vibe. Really,
let's prolong the fade out.
Well, why not, eh? Welcome back to the Creative Pursuit podcast, brought to you by the team at Northern Powerhouse Media. I'm Adam Birkett,
And I'm Scott Edwards.
And here we are, episode number
5. We're rolling through them now.
We're getting there. We had a little bit of a break, didn't we?
We did.
Your fault.
Yeah, as mentioned quickly in the last one, I took a bit of a week off.
You did, which was well overdue, actually. You needed a proper break, didn't you?
It was good fun, yeah.
You and Holly got to York.
We went to York for a few days, yeah, and treated ourselves to a stay at the Grand.
I mean, that's proper. Was it amazing?
Yeah.
You really enjoy it?
It was amazing.
Bit of luxury.
I felt so far out of my comfort zone.
Not knowing how to behave.
I'm used to like camping and stuff like that. I'm not used to staying in 5-star hotels.
Well, you know what? It's got to be done occasionally.
We took the plunge and did it for 2 nights. It was good fun.
Good. And you took your camera with you?
I did, yeah.
You do anything nice with it?
Lumix S5 II, and I didn't actually take that many photos. I enjoyed not taking photos, which is really bizarre for me, because I usually have my camera glued to my hand.
Yeah, well, it's something we discussed a bit in the last episode.
Yeah,
about me personally. The more I do professionally,
you end
the
up
more
doing
I
less for yourself.
do less for myself.
Yeah, but I think one thing I'm trying to do is still do that thing for myself. Like, I love making YouTube videos. That's your jam outside of work. Yeah. So I'm trying to find the balance again.
I'm always really impressed that you're able to find fun, creative stuff with cameras to do outside of work, because I need to do more of it. I'm not very good at it because I just sort of, when I look through the lens a little bit, I feel like I'm doing my job. Yeah. Which is really sad.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. It fascinates me. I can't get away from it.
Yeah. No, I envy it. I really do envy it. I need to start setting myself, I think, personal little photography projects. Yeah. Themes and things like that. Yeah.
One thing I did a few years ago when I was struggling with it, I set myself a 30-day photography challenge.
That's a nice idea.
It's really good. You don't really have to take anything that you're proud of and that's good, and that, or maybe that we class as good. It might be good in another way, but it just be taking a photo on your iPhone. But what I tried to do was make it a shot that I was thinking about. So I was thinking about photography. It didn't have to be a good photo. So yeah, that was quite a good challenge.
I think part of that is not necessarily holding yourself to a particularly high standard when you do it for yourself, and actually experiment and try new techniques and that kind of stuff, because you don't actually do a lot of that when you're on the job. Yeah. You play within your safety zone of what you know you can do and how to do it. Yeah, that's because you can't try something for the first time and it be terrible.
Yeah, you don't want to do that and then it go wrong, and then you screw the whole day shoot up, and yeah.
So I'm glad that you took your camera anyway. I'm going to start doing that. When I started doing photography, my camera was glued to my hand as well for years, really. Yeah. I wouldn't leave the house without it, just in case there was an incredible sunset, or I found myself having to walk in the woods and whatever, found some nature, some birds or whatever. So I would always have it with me.
You never know when it's like inspiration's going to strike.
I wonder as well, like how having a decent phone with decent camera on it has affected that as well. Yeah. It's an interesting topic that we'll probably cover in another podcast.
The whole mobile photography thing.
Because there are some very, very good photographers who only use an iPhone, for example.
Yeah, and I don't know how I feel about it.
We'll talk about it properly, I suppose, another time. But I mean, fundamentally, there's a reason why there's a great big lump of glass on the front of your proper camera and a great big sensor behind it. You can't fake that. Software can get somewhere near it, but
it's getting scarily close.
Yeah,
it really is.
It is. But I think because my camera on my phone's pretty good, it's encouraged me not to take my massive heavy DSLR and big piece of glass with me.
Yeah.
Because I know that if I see something, I can, especially this one's now got like 3 lenses on it.
Yeah.
You got a wide, a normal-ish one, and a sort of zoom, sort of telephoto. It's not the same, obviously, by some margin, but it does give you a bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
And you can shoot in RAW on this. You can edit them properly now.
It's mad. It's all happened so quickly. But yeah, I don't think you can beat just carrying your main camera.
No, you're right. And also, I think when you are carrying a camera, you see life through the lens a little bit more. So you're not waiting for a moment and go, oh, I'll get my phone out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Instead, you're looking for the shot.
Yeah, and there's a danger that you're missing out on other things. Have you seen the film Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
I haven't.
There's a good bit in that because it's about a photographer.
Is it?
Yeah.
I must watch
There's a good bit in that where I can't remember what it's a shot. I think it might be he's getting a shot of a polar bear, but he doesn't take the shot. Instead, he puts his camera down and just watches it because he wants to capture that moment for himself and remember it instead of remembering it through a camera lens.
Is this a bit like going to a gig and filming it with your phone instead of enjoying the moment?
Yeah. So it's trying to find the balance between that, I guess.
It is, yeah. I've got some work to do on it. I need to take some more photos for myself, I think. And I need to develop my skills a bit.
Right.
You know, I'm really keen to push on in certain areas of photography and do more. Anyway, that's one for another episode, I reckon.
Yeah, we could go off on a huge tangent about that.
Which we do have a tendency of doing.
On that note, I have had a little bit of fun. And you remember we were on about a geek alert?
Oh, yeah. Have you got a noise? Excellent. Okay. So when we start talking about cameras...
We have a little alert to just push ourselves away from
I'm super pleased with that. That's great. Yeah, because... for those who haven't listened to every episode, the first episode, or maybe the second one, we geeked out a little bit and we talked about cameras and stuff with them, and with some of the feedback was like, "This is dead interesting, but what's this and what's this?" And we need to qualify what we're talking about a little bit more if we're going to geek out.
It's just us getting into our photography heads.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we're not promising we won't do that again, but I think if we do, there will now be an alert,
and we can warn you.
And also, we're going to be very careful to explain things a little bit better in layman's terms.
Make it inclusive for everyone.
Exactly. We're not intending on making a podcast that is just for photographers or videographers. And the idea behind this has always been to be for everybody.
Yeah.
So we must make content for everybody.
Yep.
Thanks again for those who've been in touch with feedback. We keep getting messages from people telling us how much they like the podcast and what they'd like to hear, how we could improve bits and pieces as well. So we're taking that very much on board.
Yep.
On Monday, just gone. No, it won't be by the time this goes out. When will it be? Yeah,
Monday 2 weeks ago. When this
comes out. Episode 4 with James Sills.
We had our first guest. Yeah,
we had our first guest, and we've had some great people. We've got all sorts of people coming back to us with some great feedback. Yeah, and it's been fantastic. We loved that, didn't we?
Yeah, it's great. Just to know that we're giving a little bit that people might get a little bit of inspiration from or something like that. It makes it all worthwhile, I guess.
It did. And James was an absolutely fantastic guest.
Yeah.
He spoke brilliantly on his expertise, and he's a great guy. What were your sort of what are the major takeaways from that conversation?
I think to do with obviously the main topic of the podcast was singing, but I think realizing that singing doesn't necessarily have to be a creative outlet. It might be a money-making thing for some people, or it might be an enjoyable thing for someone else. Maybe they're in a band or they're in a choir. But as well as all of that we usually think about music and singing of, it's quite healing. Because I've heard of, I didn't say this in the last one because I remembered about it after, but I've heard of doctors prescribing singing because it helps that much. So I think there's just that whole side to it that doesn't really get spoken about.
There's a lot of therapy based around humming as well.
Yeah.
I've spoken to a few people about it, and it's something to do with the vagus nerve, which is a lot to do with your fight or flight response. Sorry, in terms of like anxiety and panic and heart racing and palpitations, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a doctor. I don't understand what any of that is, but humming apparently has really healing and calming effects, and so people can be prescribed breathing exercises as part of that. As you're breathing out, just sort of go.
Really?
And the sort of vibrations and the oscillations in your chest and stuff can be quite healing.
This might,
and that's not woo-woo stuff.
No,
that's proper medicine stuff.
I can see that, because this might sound completely bizarre to some people, but you know, a cat purr. When a cat is like sat on your chest purring away, it's really relaxing.
For you and the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like...
It might be a similar thing. I don't know. It might be all related. But yeah, I thought the same thing, because I think particularly in, you know, normal societies, and particularly in the UK, singing is... it's almost like a preserve of the elite, or certainly has stereotypes around it and expectations that singing is not for me if I can't sing.
Yeah,
I wish I could sing, as James was saying. Everyone just says, I wish I could sing.
Yeah, but a lot of like kids in school might, if they're singing or in a choir, they might get bullied. Mm-hmm. So there's the whole perception of it.
Yeah, and just that thing. Lots of people have hang-ups from things that their teachers said to them when they were young.
Yeah.
You know, stand at the back and mime.
Yeah.
You know, that can stop you singing for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And everybody can sing.
Yeah.
There's so many people that think they can't. And it's not about X Factor. It's not about a performative result. Yeah. It's not about anything other than what it means to you. It can be for health. Yeah. It can be for meditation. It can be to sing to your kids. It can be for enjoyment, to sing in the shower. Yeah. That might be the absolute like success of your journey.
You might
just
enjoy belting your favourite track out in the car.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that I really thought a lot about after the discussion was the community benefits of singing as well. Yeah. In that it brings people together to do a thing together. Yeah. We can't, and one of the things James said that really sticks with me is we can't all speak at the same time, but we can sing at the same time. Yeah. And it's as old as time. You know, even before language, there was singing or grunting or chanting or whatever it might have been. You know, doing that together as an act of togetherness and well-being. Yeah. The benefits are just massive. I really hope people listening to that episode sort of have some takeaways from it. I might look into it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably will, hopefully.
I hope some of those stereotypes we can, we address some of those stereotypes in terms of like the types of people who sing. Yeah. Forget that. Everybody should. Sings, and everybody does sing, yeah. Even if you're just, on your way home from work and you're belting something out to your favourite tune. That's a result. You'll feel better for it. Yeah. And therefore there's an output.
100%. 100%. Do we want to have a quick recap of what we've been up to over this last few weeks?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not even the last few weeks, the last couple of months.
It's been a very busy start to 2023. Yeah. All in all.
Yeah. Did you have some numbers of over the years?
Yeah. I was just looking at it since... Just because I felt like we were really busy, and it turns out, we are.
We have been very busy.
So we started Northern Powerhouse Media commercially halfway through 2020, in the midst of the lockdowns in 2020. So at that point, I was a hobbyist, obsessed, enthusiast photographer. Yeah, that was the period of time where
you never let your camera go.
Yeah, I was taking thousands of shots of anything and everything. So when my work with my events company dried up overnight, I thought, well, now's as good an opportunity as any to see if I can monetize this to try and earn a living, because I didn't know what was going to happen with the events company, which survived and is now still running. But at the time, I didn't know that would necessarily be the case. So I was looking for the next branch to swing onto. Yeah. So I started getting a bit of commercial work. I'll have a look. What work was I doing? So I was doing some events early before the lockdown. So I was going and shooting at corporate events, which was a hell of a learning curve because I was doing, flash photography, 2 cameras, dealing with really dark settings, all this. That was a hell of a learning thing. I was shooting a lot of portrait and sort of lifestyle model photography and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot for other musicians and a lot of studio. I was trying to develop my studio skills.
Like creative portraiture, messing around with lights.
Exactly. I was trying to do as much, because that was and still is probably my favourite personal type of photography, working with flash and studio lights and stuff. And I wish we did more of that, actually. So I was doing a bit of that, and then I got a client at a gym.
Right.
I started doing sports photography.
Yeah.
And the year before, I'd done a bit of sports photography at the Ashes, at the cricket in the summer.
I'm so jealous of that.
I don't know how I blagged it. Well, I do know how I blagged it. Like, my events company was doing all the entertainment for the hospitality for the whole Summer World Cup in 2019.
Yeah.
And then the Ashes. And because I was there in a capacity as management for all of that, I got access to all areas, and I just said, can I have a photography pass, please? So I taught my camera.
God.
And I just got access to everywhere and took some of my favourite photos.
Just saying, it's the Ashes in 3 months' time.
You have mentioned it.
I am very, very excited.
I'll see what we can do. I'm working on it.
It's on camera now.
I'm working on it. I can say no more. So yeah, sports photography. I really got into sports photography. I did a lot of motorsport photography at the time. Just going off on my own to Alton Park and Silverstone and trying to shoot cars and trying to bring some motion blur into stuff.
Yeah.
And again, developing my skills. But we only did 15... I did 15 photography shoots commercially in year 1. In year 2, so 2021, and this is before we had any regular clients or whatever. How many did we do there? Let me select. Oops. Let's try again. So we did 97 in year 2. So what's that? 7 a month or something like that. Again, with the gym, did a very cool shoot for Seven Brothers Brewery. Lots of events in between lockdowns and stuff in 2021. And then we started working for Stories Estates.
The estate agent.
In about, I guess that would have been April. It might even be March. It might come in up to our 2-year anniversary with Stories, actually. What else was in there? Some more events. All sorts of little bits and pieces. Lots of events. Some product photography in there as well.
There's a complete mix of different
TEDx.
things.
We got a TEDx job that year.
TEDx is cool.
Yeah.
But that's still going on now as well. Like, even now, there's still a complete mix of different things that we do.
And I think there's 2 trains of thinking. One is become a specialist and do that and do that and do that and do that.
Yeah.
Become the expert in that niche.
Yeah.
And market the hell out of that niche and become the go-to guys for that thing. I've never been like that. I like a bit of broad variety in terms of the work we do. And I like developing my skills in different areas.
Yeah.
So we've become known for a few different things. Like, events is something I've always done a lot of because of my association with events. We've become experts at property.
Real estate, yeah.
Real estate.
Is real estate... Is it called that over here? Do we just call it that?
Estate agency, I don't know. Real
it's
estate.
Very American.
I think within the photography fraternity, real estate is kind of the genre of photography or content creation. And we do video and we do photography for that.
Yeah.
And we're really proud of the work that we do with that because it's not normal sort of content for real estate. It's high-end stuff.
You're allowed to be
very creative.
Fully creative with it, yeah.
And I would never have thought that when we got into it, that it would give us so much creative license.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be really prescriptive, really boring, taking pictures of rooms, blah, blah, blah. But we are staging them. We're helping to stage them. We're doing sets. It's kind of like when we go and do a shoot for property, it's kind of like a lifestyle shoot for Cheshire Life or something.
Yeah.
We're trying to capture a lifestyle and make it aspirational to try and engage potential viewers and go, I can see myself living in that house. And so it's not just taking pictures of the rooms.
Yeah. That's I think probably a lot of, I don't want to say this really, but a lot of places will see it like that. But when you do end up thinking about trying to get the viewer thinking they're in that house, then it gets a lot more exciting.
And we're constantly evolving that as well and trying to add new ideas. I had a good chat with the guys at Stories a few weeks ago about starting to use models, actors and stuff within the shoots to create real lifestyle content.
Yeah.
So that's mega.
Yeah.
We love doing that, and we're going to do more of that.
Yeah, and the videos as well. I love making the videos for it.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to plot a route around the house that looks cool, and then include a load of natural looking stuff as well. So you're not just showing the room, you're present a video with them walking a route around the house.
Yeah.
So they can imagine them walking through the house.
Exactly.
And just showing that presenter not living in it, but doing natural things in there.
Yeah.
And
exploring the house.
Yeah, so every house is completely different. It's never the same thing again.
And it is super creative. And as I said, like we never thought it would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's become something we love doing.
Yeah.
To the point where we've been talking about a sub-brand to Northern Powerhouse Media.
Yeah.
In Northern Property Media.
Yeah.
Which
still NPM.
Still NPM.
Clever.
The email address doesn't change, it's useful.
And the website.
I've got enough email addresses, honestly. But what it means is, again, to appeal to that niche market, as we are experts in that field, we can market ourselves in that field more
so then we're effectively trying the best of both worlds.
Exactly. And I think we've got to be careful not to be too complicated about it and doing too many brands and sub-brands and all these sorts of things. I don't want to do that. I think Northern Powerhouse Media now, running for 3 years or so, we've got to the point where we understand what our specialties are.
Yep.
You know, and we're growing those fields of expertise. But I think property is one we can focus in on.
I think as well, though, when it comes to niching down, as people say, it takes a while to know what route you want to go in. You can't do that straight away.
I never would have guessed it would be real estate.
Yeah.
When I started this, I didn't think we were going to be real estate specialists.
Yeah. It's the same with my YouTube channel. When I first started it, you hear people say it needs to be about one specific thing. I didn't have a clue what the hell I was doing. I was just making videos and having fun.
Yeah.
Making music.
And dare I say, this podcast might be the same.
Yeah.
We're only 5 episodes in, and we might find ourselves niching.
Yeah, exactly.
I hate using that as an adjective. It's horrible. Such bad English.
Yeah. Niche.
Yeah. Do you know, who knows where it might go? And I think you got to be part of the journey and be open-minded, I think.
Yeah.
So that was 21. 22. So we did what? I don't want to say 80 odd shoots in 21. In 22, how many did we do? 187. So we doubled from 21 to 22.
But in 23...
23?
It's just gone mental.
So by the end of February, how many have we done?
What did we? 42, wasn't it?
42 individual projects.
So we've done a quarter of last year already.
In 2 months. Yeah, it's been mad.
As well as 42 projects, we've done a lot of travelling up and down the country.
There's been a few miles under our belt. Yeah.
It's been a busy few months.
It has. And we launched the Creative Pursuit in amongst all that on the 1st of February.
I even thought about, we've done all this stuff
We've done all this stuff as well. That's not even included in the 42. So yeah, it's a busy start. And I'm pleased about that because obviously you want your business to be doing well. I think the economic climate we're in at the moment means that nothing is sure.
Yeah.
It's a difficult time for a lot of people, cost of living crisis and all the rest of it. And you never know, growing a business at these times is quite challenging, I think. So it's a good indication that we're busy. And not only that, we're not relying on any individual clients or anything particularly. Do you know what I mean? That we've got a good spread.
Yep.
And I love working with our ongoing accounts.
Yeah.
Because you develop relationships.
And it makes it fun.
Oh, it does, because we're all part of the same team.
Yeah.
And,
you can have a laugh with them. You all get on.
And we're developing greater and greater content all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone feels secure enough to be able to chuck ideas in the room.
Yeah, and it's always pushing on for that next new thing that works really well.
Exactly. So that's been really great. It's been a great start to the year. What have you got coming up then?
So we're going to be putting a lot more time into this, the Creative Pursuit, as well as a lot more estate agency, real estate stuff over the next few weeks.
So we're going to do a lot more pushing, aren't we, on the Northern Property Media brand?
Yeah, and adding a bit to the website all about that.
It developed an Instagram page.
Created a new Instagram page. So it's all about putting a lot of time into our own stuff so we can push that for the next few weeks.
Yeah. There's that, and I think you've got some more, quite a few shoots booked in terms of real estate, actually. We've got some product stuff to do as well. We've got all that stuff in that box that we need to shoot at some point.
Yeah.
Most of my time has been taken up last month
with a monster of a project.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a sec. Should we do a quick
cannon break?
Quick cannon break.
Wrong one. Still going.
I suppose technically it was a geek alert because it's a Canon related issue. So, without going into too much geekage, that pesky Canon in the middle there, camera 2, needs resetting every 30
still
minutes.
There. Although,
we're at a point.
Did you mention something earlier?
What?
About another new camera?
Yeah, so we're at a point where the avid listeners will know that we bought a Lumix S5 II about a month ago, which we've been using for videography quite a lot, and it's an incredible videography hybrid camera.
Yeah, that's not my alarm.
No, that's my alarm. Different. That was the Canon time. I better restart it. It's all going on. Crikey. We're giving people heart attacks and listening on their dog walks. Professional media house here. Top quality content. S5 II has been brilliant as a hybrid video camera thus far, but we couldn't use it as a stills camera because Adobe hadn't updated their software to allow us to edit raw files from this new camera.
Yeah, but now they have.
We really do need that. We started.
Stop.
Oh, not that
one's going.
God, this is awful. We're going to need to work on this. Anyway, we've now started using it as a stills camera, and it's really good. Mega impressed by
my
the
favourite camera I've ever used.
And as we've discussed ad nauseum before, it's not just its capabilities, but its value for money just can't be ignored. And I think it is turning the heads of a lot of Sony and Canon
100%,
users.
yeah.
And how can it not? When you're looking at the capabilities of it, the quality of its output, its usability, but for 2/3 the price or even half the price in some cases of the equivalent sort of Canon stuff. So anyway, we're going to go and buy another one, another S5 II, I think. The question then says, do we keep the Canon break?
I think so. Why
should we
not?
put it out to the listeners?
Yeah.
Is the Canon break annoying?
I think
should
we keep it there just to annoy Canon.
Until they sort it out.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I've actually quite enjoyed the Canon break over the episodes because it's a little punctuation mark, as we said, a little comma.
Yeah, it breaks it up.
Breaks up what can be a long form conversation.
Yeah.
So I've quite enjoyed it until our first interview. I found it annoying when we interviewed James, I have to say.
Did you?
And the reason is because you can be in the middle of something really good, in a deep conversation. You have to say, I'm so sorry, can you stop whilst we fix this camera?
Yeah. There's that.
When it's just you and me doing a podcast, we can sort of dance around it a little bit and it's no big deal. And the nature of the conversation isn't quite as long form or deep on a subject. But I don't know. I'd be interested to know what listeners have to say about it.
If it flows or if it sounds forced, I guess.
Is it annoying? If you could program it so it's a good time for a little interlude. I listened to the Adam Buxton podcast, and Adam does his own jingles and stuff, and they're brilliant. They're really funny, and he puts them in quite often to break up conversation. But he'll do it at a moment that needs breaking up, or a change of subject or whatever. Whereas this is like in the middle of something. Hang on, bit of fake Fleetwood.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to know what people think about that.
There is that side to it, I guess.
Yeah. What were we talking about? What am I up to?
We just finished off talking about how busy it had been.
That's right, yeah. So I've got this big project coming up. I've been in pre-production for a big filming session, 5-day filming, which is on continental Europe, going into Denmark and to Norway. So I'm flying out on Sunday this week, and we've got 2 days filming in Denmark. and then we have a travel day, and then we have 1 day filming in Norway, and I'm back at the end of next week. Really exciting project, and this is taking up all my time. We've outsourced a lot of the film work for this one because it's in Europe and there's a lot of moving parts. Yep. So there's a crew of 4 of us going over, along with the clients, UK based clients. Yep. But they're looking for they've got international investors, and they are showing what they're doing, and they're an amazing company. I've talked about them a little bit before, but basically their model is that they turn waste cardboard into usable wood, so flooring and furniture and all sorts, and it's a very, very green process. So obviously it's reusing what we have on the planet rather than making new stuff, and the actual process of the transformation from cardboard to wood is very green as well. It's not using any sort of like toxins and glues and horrible stuff. It's all done using repurposed paper mill machinery. It's an amazing concept, and they've got massive, great big visions for it. We are creating 2 films for them. Yep. One is a kind of movie trailer style, sort of theatrical, cinematic sort of trailer, I suppose is the best way of putting it. So it's going to be a few minutes long. It's going to be emotive. It's going to be powerful, and it's designed to make people want to be part of this. Yeah. Because their aspirations for this are global. It's not just a business that they want to grow. They genuinely, a fantastic team, and they want to change the planet. And they think they've got a fantastic solution to help do that. Yep. And it's not pie in the sky stuff. They've done it. They have a plant in North Wales, and they're already doing it. Yeah. So they just want to scale it up, and they just need some money to do it. So they're looking for investment. So 2 films. One is the little trailer, the cinematic thing, and one will be more of like a mini documentary. Yeah. And we're filming luminaries and investors, and we've even got the Norwegian government, I think, are involved. So yeah, I'm quite excited.
It's a big one.
It's a massive one. Yeah, it's a really big one. As I say, it's taken up the vast majority of my headspace for the last month. Yeah. Lots of creative meetings, lots of production meetings, a really good team I think we've got around us to deliver this. And then we've got the post-production side of things, obviously. We've got the week abroad next week, and then the following week we're doing filming in the UK plant.
The current factory.
Yeah. Yep. Once it's all done, we're then going to host a premiere event live from the factory in the UK. Sort of a watch party, an international watch party premiere, effectively, of both films. Yep. To potential investors and stakeholders and all the rest of it, and we'll be doing that as well. Yeah. Don't know when that is yet. Probably April or May time, I would think. Yeah. But it just goes to show, I mean, that's one of the biggest projects we've done in our short life as a Northern Powerhouse Media. Yeah. But I think we are pushing ourselves, and it sort of led to a bit of a conversation we had about sort of self-doubt and confidence in your work, and I wonder whether that's the sort of, not that we have any doubts whether we can do this, but it's important to push yourself, and we are pushing ourselves with this logistically and in terms of this.
I think it's a common thing with creative people in general, to be honest, struggling with self-doubt and anxiety, I guess. I know I've always struggled with it, and I tend to overthink things a lot. That's probably one of my things I struggle with the most, is overthinking and thinking that I'm not really good enough to do anything. So then that could in turn stop you from doing things.
I think what I'm interested in is it creative people who feel like that, or is it the creative work that makes people feel like that? For example,
it's a good question.
Is it the sort of people that go into creative things or naturally have a predisposition to anxiety or overthought or imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. Or is it the nature of the work that we do is quite subjective, and therefore you can't tangibly say it's better or worse in a lot of cases, because it's a case of whether someone likes it, and all that matters is whether the client likes it.
Yeah, everyone's got different tastes.
Right, so a photograph you find on Instagram you might love, and I might go, it's not for me. Yeah. So does that mean that their work is good or bad?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem, because you start comparing yourself to others.
Right. And that's I think, there's a good saying somewhere. Comparison is it's not a good thing. I'll have to dig that
Comparison is not a good thing.
Yeah, but that's not the quote. I'm going to try and find the quote.
But it's true, though. It is
good. Good. Try and find that.
Yeah, there's that thing as well. Like if you had two photographers and you were both taking a picture of the exact same thing, you would never end up with anything near the same photo.
Yeah.
It would always be completely different because everyone sees the world completely differently.
Yeah. And I think it's difficult to know where the line is, because you can technically look at a photograph and go, technically that's a good photo.
Yep.
It's well exposed. Like, it's got good composition.
Yeah.
It's been, edited well, whatever.
Yeah. But then is it
a good photo?
Because there's other things to think about, like, is that photo telling a story?
Yeah.
And I think that's what interests me in a photo a lot more than the
storytelling
technical side. Yeah.
Again, but that's your perspective.
Yeah.
It might be different to mine or anyone else's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I wonder if that is the cause of the self-doubt or the lack of belief in yourself or overthinking it, because there's no, like, it's not a race where it's just against the stopwatch, or like it's not about, photography or creative pursuits within careers or in life. They're not necessarily about how much money you can earn out of it.
Yeah.
If you earn X amount and you earn Y amount, doesn't mean you're a better photographer because you earn more out of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's loads of other factors.
Yeah.
But comparison, I think, is something that's very real, and it affects a lot of creatives in video and photo, because you go on Instagram, you see other people's work, you go, oh my God, it's amazing, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I found the quote, Theodore Roosevelt. Okay. He once said, comparison is the thief of joy.
I have heard that before.
Yeah, and it's absolutely right. Absolutely.
It's very true.
So
there's so many things that go into our case, like a photograph. So many things that go into it, whether it's story, technical ability, or whatever. It's different for everyone, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. If you think it's good, and someone else doesn't necessarily like it, it doesn't matter, because you like it, and that should be the only thing that matters.
Yeah. We have a guest coming up on the next podcast, Ian Turpin, who's a brilliant photographer, not a commercial photographer, doesn't do it for money.
Just does it for himself.
Does it for himself. I'm really interested to talk to him about this sort of stuff.
I'm looking forward to that one.
I find his work completely inspiring, mainly because he doesn't care what anyone else thinks.
Yeah.
It's not the reason for him taking the photos.
There's a lot to take from that.
Mega. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's to come. That is to come. Shall we leave it there?
Yeah, I just, talking about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, there is my favourite ever quote.
Go on, hit us.
This is from David Bowie.
It's already started well.
And it's so true. And it says, always, my dad first showed me this. He's got it hung up on his wall. And it says, always go a little further into the water than you feel you're capable of being. Go a little bit out of your depth, and when you don't feel your feet are quite touching the bottom, you're just about in the right place to do something exciting.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I've seen it, and it's so true.
It is so true, yeah.
So being in your comfort zone as a creative doesn't really push you on.
It doesn't get you anywhere.
So it is maybe okay to feel a bit out of your depth.
Yeah, or maybe that is just learning a new skill or something.
Well, how are you ever going to develop?
On your camera.
How are you ever going to develop?
Yeah.
That's a nice place to end it, I would say.
I love it.
Yeah.
Favourite quote.
Thanks very much for tuning in again. Where can people find us, Scott?
They can find us on Instagram at northern.powerhouse.media. Our website is npmedia.co.uk, and you can find us on YouTube at The Creative Pursuit.
You can indeed. Thanks very much for everyone who tunes in. And again, thank you for all the feedback that you've offered us over the last few weeks. As we said, we're still getting our feet under the desk, so to speak, with this podcast and figuring out how it works. We'd love to know what you thought of the James Sills episode, number 4, the interview, what takeaways you had from that in terms of any thoughts on the content of the podcast, the way we did the podcast, and also just from James himself. And we'd totally encourage you to go and look at his work and look at his activities and choirs and stuff. If you're based in the Northwest or Chester or North Wales. There's loads of stuff that James does that if you're interested, go along.
Yeah.
And have a go and see how you get on. The podcast we've decided is going to now launch every 2 weeks.
On a Monday.
On a Monday. So you'll have the audio every 2 weeks on a Monday morning. Hopefully the video as well on YouTube, but that certainly won't be far behind. And
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
See you in the next one. The right one that time.
Yeah, you did well.